sharing tonight. So you need to resolve within yourself to be free today, to become the best you that you can ever be. Because trust me, most of the things that people go through in life are things that most of the times are behavioral issues. Now, the subject of masturbation is a subject that a lot of people don't quite understand. And in their ignorance, let me use that word carefully right now, you hear all kinds of things. A lot of people have been lured into error. All kinds of things have been said over time from time to time. So tonight, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the things I've discovered over a span of 15 or 20 years, which has really helped me. And I want to believe that this same thing is going to help you today. I hope you're ready. And I hope you're ready with your writing materials as we kickstart the session. This session runs for about 42 minutes. And after 42 minutes, if you have any question, you can see the question, the place that is written questions. You can type in your questions and I will respond to them at the end of this session. So let me welcome you once again to this session on masturbation.
Okay. I meet a lot of people struggling with pornography. Most of them do not know what is wrong with them, and a whole lot of them even have a bigger problem that they call masturbation. Unfortunately, loads of these people, when you ask them what exactly is wrong with what they do, they don't seem to know exactly what is wrong than to tell you that, okay, I feel guilty, or my pastor says this is demonic, or I just feel so bad about this. Now, it has taken me over 20 years to do a study on masturbation to know what exactly is wrong with masturbation. What are the challenges? What do we need to hold on to? And how do we help people break free from masturbation? Now, a whole lot of the things you're going to be hearing about today are some of the things you already know. Some of them may be strange to you, but whichever way, one thing is certain: if you are battling with masturbation, you are going to get help because I'm going to be focusing on masturbation today. Now, before I go ahead, I want you to take a deep breath and I want you to breathe out. I want you to put your hands on your heart and I want you to say to yourself that today I'm going to break free from whatsoever has held me bound. Say to yourself again, today I'm going to break free from whatever has held me bound. Fantastic. You have done so well, and trust me, 7% of the job is showing up, and I'm glad you have shown up to listen to this and to break free once and for all from this challenge that has held you bound. Now, a whole lot of people do not know what masturbation is, but generally, masturbation has been defined as the sexual pleasure obtained from self arousal of the genital to orgasm. I'll take that again. It's been defined as the sexual pleasure obtained from self-arousal of the genital to orgasm. What it means is derived by exciting one sexual organ till a state of orgasm is achieved. A lot of people have held their lives bound by some of these patterns that they don't really understand where it's coming from. I meet loads of people daily, and what they say to me sometimes is baffling. They say to me, Praise, can you just take this pain away from me? Or what exactly can I do to get this problem off me? Some of them, I wish I could just get into their hearts and get this problem out. Some of them tell me, Praise, can you just pray for me or do something? And that says to me that a lot of people are tired of the way they are. Loads of people are going through all kinds of pressure that they wish they could get help with. Unfortunately, many of them want to pray themselves out of a behavioral problem. I often say to people, you cannot pray yourself out of what you behave yourself into. Masturbation, even though a lot of people have been made to believe it's a spiritual problem, and I'm not ruling out the fact that it could be, but from every people I've dealt with, from every situation I've been, and from situations I've had to handle professionally, I know It's a behavioral problem. And most of the times, a lot of people wonder, why do they go through what they go through? And why does masturbation seem to be a problem to them? In my work with people, I sit with them and I ask, so what is wrong with masturbation? And it's shocking that not one person has been able to tell me what they feel is wrong. People say, oh, my pastor said so, the Bible said so, my religion says so, I feel bad about this, and da 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 da. Not a single person seems to have been able to research this matter thoroughly. Now, the first part I will take in this session is to try and help you understand why people masturbate. Because people masturbate for different reasons, and I've met loads of people. Now, the first reason I have found out that people masturbate is discovery. A lot of children, even though at that level may not seem like masturbation, but the first toy some boys found and some girls found is their private part. So you have a situation where a boy began to play with his penis, or a girl begins to finger the vagina. Sometimes it is not induced, other times it is induced. But oftentimes you see a boy who loves to cry and cry. Maybe the mother was not really available. Then he touches his penis and he feels a sense of sensation. Automatically, that child feels that something is good in here because a signal is sent from the source of the pleasure to the brain, and the brain longs for a repeat performance. Now, the more it does that, the more it becomes a way of life. Neural lines are formed till it becomes a habit, and Anthony Robbins calls that neuroassociative conditioning. Now, such boys or girls, if this thing is not weaned out of them, or they're not weaned out of the situation, now it grows with them into their teenage years, wherein they start attain puberty and they start producing semen. Now, by massaging their penis, they suddenly realize that they begin to ejaculate, and that can become a way of life. Now, number two is peer pressure, or what I call initiation process. I discovered that loads of my clients were initiated into masturbation in the boarding houses that they attended. Now, some of them by their uncles, some of them by the seniors in school. As a matter of fact, a lot of them by their house masters, and some of them by their school fathers. Now, these school fathers start by asking these boys to massage their private parts. Now, these boys become begin to do this for them, and they try to do it themselves. So a lot of people were initiated into it, and then initially they were enjoying it. Little did they know that it was going to become a pattern and a behavioral habit that was going to be very tough for them to break away from. Now, number three is loneliness. It's been proven that loads of people have found masturbation as a coping mechanism. Now, a lot of lonely people, maybe because they have aversion to, they don't have the confidence to approach a lady. A lot of them resort to masturbation just to feel what the people who have sex are feeling. Now, interestingly, I found something among Christians recently in my work with a lot of Christians who masturbate. Now, I realized that a whole lot of them actually pretend to themselves that they don't want masturbation, or right, that they don't actually want to have sex. But the truth is, in my work with them, when I begin to ask them using the Cartesian logic to find out the reason or the motive behind what they do, I discovered that deep down, a lot of them actually want to have premarital sex. Now, you had me right. A lot of them actually wish to have premarital sex. But what happens is, because they know that in having premarital sex, you need to do it with a partner, and that can become an open secret, or because of they are afraid of pregnancy, or they're afraid of sexually transmitted infection, or they're afraid of what God is going to do to them, they realize that they desire deep down to have sex. But because they feel they can't have that sex, they resort to masturbation now, and that becomes a bigger habit because it becomes very tough for them to break away from this habit now. So you find that in a lot of people, most of my clients, when I ask them to tell me the real reason why they masturbate, I realize that because they don't want to enjoy, they don't want to have premarital sex. Okay, so they resort to deriving the same pleasure without hurting someone else. The next one is lack of confidence to approach a lady. A lot of introverts masturbate because they, just like the Christians that I've worked with, they want to feel the pleasure, but they don't feel they need to go out of their way to talk to a lady, so they resort to having that masturbation. The next one is fear of HIV and pregnancy, which was very similar to what I shared before. Next one is lack of good self worth, or what we call inferiority complex. A lot of people have a complex problem. They have low self esteem. Now, when your esteem is very low, you can do dumb things, including things that you're not proud of. Now, because nobody masturbates publicly. And so a lot of them really keep it to themselves till it becomes an addictive behavior. Now, we say that an addictive behavior is an uncontrollable compulsive appetite for sexual activities that keep reoccurring. Now, there's a small group of people that I also find that who masturbate, and those are the people who have been sexually abused. I realized that a lot of people, or some of my clients who I've worked with, were products of abuse. They were sexually molested at some point, and they became internalized in themselves. Now, in that process, they began to look for a coping mechanism, and because they couldn't find anything, they couldn't smoke or use substance, they resort to masturbation. So you hear them say to you that until I masturbate, I can't sleep. Now, there is another group of people who see it as alternative to intercourse, and there is a larger chunk of people who see masturbation as induced as a result of pornography. As a matter of fact, pornography and masturbation go hand in hand in most cases. Loads of my clients who use pornography eventually masturbate because pornography teaches you to masturbate. Now, at this juncture, let me say that from research and what I found out, I discovered that masturbation could train your body to ejaculate. Well, someone actually postulated that theory, right? And people may not know the effect until it is too late. And then someone whom I respect so much had also said that the testes produce 100 millions of reproductive cell spermatozoa, and naturally the way the body is configured is such that it moves up a tube vas deferens to ampulla mixed with fluid from seminal vesicles and prostate glands. Now, it says that this result fluid is called semen. When seminal vesicle is full of signal, when seminal vesicle is full, a signal is sent to the central nervous system indicating that they are ready to be emptied, and that is done through nocturnal emission. But if masturbation has consistently taken place, the reproductive system is operating at a more rapid pace, keeping up with the lost semen. When you want to stop, the body continues to produce at this increased pace for an indefinite period of time, creating sexual tension and pressure. Okay, and it says that they are to be endured until the body is restored to normal. Now, what else I simply try to explain is to say that your body is like a production factory. Now, so if your body is configured to produce semen, let's say, for example, every 72 hours, now, if you have learned to masturbate or by induced to masturbation, what has happened is your body is producing semen faster than necessary. Okay, so it alters your body configuration and alters your body system such that you begin to produce semen faster than necessary, and the need for it to be emptied becomes faster than necessary. Now, the way the body is conditioned to empty this unwanted semen is through nocturnal emission. Now, but when masturbation has been introduced, it becomes induced such that it becomes very frequent and needs to be emptied. That's why you find people masturbate 4 times daily. You see people who say to you that they masturbate 7 times daily. I have seen loads of people in this kind of what do you call it now? Behavioral addiction. Now, a lot of people don't know that masturbation has got effect. Of course, there is. I know sometimes that when you go for seminal test, the doctors can tell you to masturbate so that they can extract semen. And I've also seen a school of thought who says that, hey, pray I masturbate because my wife is far away. And usually they have a point, because then they ask you, between masturbation or cheating on my wife, which one should I choose at that point? Where, right, it's so easy for those of us who don't masturbate to castigate them and tell them that, hey, God is going to kill them or whatever. But when you weigh it vis-a-vis cheating on their wife, you might want to recommend masturbation at that level. However, the problem is, no sooner have they started masturbating than it becomes an addiction that even when they reunite with their wives, it becomes very difficult to gain sexual satisfaction, because another pleasure, form of pleasure has been triggered. The pleasure you get from masturbation may be totally different from the one you get with your wife. Now, unknown to many of us, the most important sex organ you have is not your genital. The most important sex organ you have is actually your mind. Now, if your mind has been totally messed up, your mind automatically gives instruction to your body, and your body will have no choice than to obey your mind. And that's why you see a whole lot of people attribute masturbation to a spiritual problem. And I hear people say, I'm doing this because it's been settled spiritually. Now, it doesn't mean what they have said is totally wrong, but it's another way of saying that the subconscious determines the conscious. That's what they actually meant to say. To say that I have triggered a pattern within me, okay, that now automatically makes a particular response happen. So there's a stimulus and there's a response. So they've stimulated or triggered a particular habit, which now elicits a form of response, which is the pressure or the quest to want to masturbate. So you see people sometimes, this person says to you, oh, praise, I've prayed, I've fasted, I've done all kinds of things, but I can't seem to overcome this masturbation. And because they don't understand why they masturbate, they call it a demonic act. So they say to me, oh, they get into prayers some more. Now, I am not saying prayers don't work. Neither am I saying miracles don't happen. Trust me, miracles happen because God cannot be forced into anybody's inbox. He can choose to work the way he works. The only problem is that the number of people who have received healing or freedom from masturbation through prayers or miracle, versus the number of people who are still battling with the problem have remained. I've seen people read the Bible, I've seen people read the Quran, I've seen people pray, I've seen people go on 75 days fasting, and their problem has still remained. Now, that should tell us that God will not take responsibility for what He has empowered you to solve. God will not take away a problem that you behaved yourself into simply by a miracle. If you have behaved yourself into the problem, you must behave yourself out. What I mean is that even God will allow you to take responsibilities for what is your responsibility, because God will not come and bail you out. For example, if God has provided food, He's not going to feed you with the food. It will be your responsibility to put a spoon in your mouth. Now, there's a very, very strange school of thought, that I've also heard, who says that there is no weakness at all. That, for example, I heard this was from a certain man called Kundishorian, who says that if you feel like masturbating right now, and a python shows up, will you tell the python you need to finish masturbating before you go ahead, to kill the python or something? So is his way of showing people that you are not as powerless as you think, and I think I agree with that. You are not as powerless as you've always thought that you are. However, you see, when it comes to human behavior, when it comes to patterns, and when patterns have been formed, human beings become a slave to that pattern unless we uninstall the software that has been installed in you that triggers this masturbation. Nothing gets done. Now, before I begin to provide solution and I give you exercises to do, because trust me, masturbation you were not born with it. It was something you behaved yourself into, and professionally you can behave yourself out if you follow some of the instructions that I'm going to give you in this production. Now, what are the effects of masturbation? Now, this effect doesn't mean it affects everyone. It doesn't mean everyone will experience this, but from the over 500 people that I've worked with who have issues with masturbation, the harmful effects are slow and spans on a long duration of time. It spans a long duration of time. As a matter of fact, I always say that masturbation, and I say it humorously, that it is killing me softly. I have seen loads of my clients battle with fatigue or feeling tired the moment they masturbate. Now, that could be due to the normal process, because if you also engage in sexual intercourse, you can actually experience that. But the number is increasingly alarming who say that they get fatigued, and they can't even seem to concentrate at work. Number two, masturbation can lead to stress and anxiety. I have seen loads of people say they make mistakes once they engage in masturbation. Now, that has not been scientifically proven. However, it may not be unconnected with guilt that they feel when they masturbate, especially when you feel your sense of values has been violated. Take, for instance, someone who is a believer or a believer in Jesus and the Bible who doesn't think he should masturbate. The moment you masturbate or you commit any sin at all, now you feel stress and anxiety almost immediately, because you know you have violated your moral standard. Okay, so a lot of people have told me that they make mistakes when they do it. Number three, is soft and weak erection. And I found it with loads of clients who were showing up in my office to say they're married, but they can't seem to have sex with their wives. Now, the strange thing is that when I asked them about masturbation, I realized that most of them have a history of 7 to 11 years of masturbation. Now, it doesn't mean everyone who masturbates will experience this weak erection, but I have found this in at least 75% of the people I've dealt with. Now, so weak and soft erection. So I always say to people, humorously as well, that masturbation is like a dress rehearsal for a future of impotence. Okay, now, but like I said, it may not work for everyone. Next one is premature ejaculation. Some people who masturbate also tell me that they prematurely ejaculate even when they're married and they're having sex with their wife. Now, there's another group of people who experience what we call semen leakage. They just realize that their semen begins to leak. It's not as if even when they're not masturbating, they just realize that semen naturally comes out. Now, another group of people have experienced shrinkage at the base of their penis. Now, I must say that masturbation is not limited to men alone. A lot of women also masturbate, and many of them have battled with frigidity because a pattern of satisfaction has been derived through masturbation that even when they engage in sexual intercourse, they never feel anything unless they go back to masturbate or where their partners masturbates them. Now, there's a group of people who experience a reduced amount of orgasm now, both male and female among my clients. So that can be another effect of masturbation. I've talked about premature ejaculation. Then mood swings is something I found in 100% of most of all my clients. Mood swings. The moment they masturbate, they begin to have mood swing. Then it's some of them, about 40% of the people I worked with, battle with depression and irritability. They battle with it, and for many of them, it was tough. We had to run some therapy to help them. Then a smaller group of people, maybe about 10%, experienced poor memory. They said that after masturbation, they began to battle with poor memory. Now, there's another group who have lost sex drive towards the opposite sex. As a matter of fact, some of them now began to tend towards same-sex sexual experience. Now, loss of sex drive towards opposite sex because they develop a pattern wherein why should I get another person when I can actually feel satisfied within me? Now, there's another group of people that they now talk about lack of sexual satisfaction, which I've talked about. Then there's all of them, they battle with sex addiction, masturbation addiction in actual fact, wherein, and that is, I think, is the main problem and cross of what we're dealing with today. What it means is that they started it by loving it, but now it's becoming very tough for them to break away from it. Now, and I think that's what we should focus on. Why do people do what they don't like? Now, if you want to process this from the scientific perspective, you can begin to talk about neuroassociative conditioning. If you want to process it from the spiritual point of view or from the religious point of view, you can ask yourself, like Apostle Paul said, the things I don't want to do are the things I do. So when he began to talk about, I see another members of me warring against my flesh, then you begin to ask yourself, what exactly is this guy talking about? So when Apostle Paul went further to talk about the fact that 3 times I besought the Lord, take this from me, but he says, my grace is sufficient for you. What is that behavioral problem that he was actually dealing with? Now, these are questions that you may want to analyze if you choose to. However, the crux of the matter is to help people break free from masturbation. The truth is, whether you want to believe it or yes, it is not good for a habit to possess you because it makes you a slave to that habit. So whomsoever you surrender your body to, that person is you. That person becomes your master. So if masturbation is actually your master, then you need help. Because the question now comes, do you do it? Are you proud enough to tell people this is what I do in my closet? Now, why are you not proud to tell them? Is it because of public perception or because deep down you think something is wrong? Trust me, something is wrong when masturbation begins to infringe on your right to do the things you would love to do. Something is wrong when you now realize that you try to stop masturbation and you can't stop it. Something is wrong when you make up your mind today, I'm not going to masturbate, and you find yourself masturbating 3 times. Something is wrong, and it's something you need to fix as a matter of urgency. Now, I've had loads of people talk about, how to break free from masturbation. And if you notice, this product is actually designed not to prove anything, really, is to help people who deep down need help with masturbation. And if you also realize that I've not attributed so much to demonic powers or demons or the devil or Satan, because I do not think that Any power has the power to hold anyone bound if you have chosen to break yourself free. As a matter of fact, the most important truth, freedom I know, is you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. Because the moment you begin to see that you are more powerful than something, then naturally you break free from it. For example, if a 5-year-old has always beaten you up, as an adult who is 35 years old, simply because you didn't know that you were older than that child, the day you come to the consciousness that I'm older and I'm bigger and I can actually beat this person up, the child, that's the last day the child will beat you. And I always say this, that I broke away from a bully in my class the day I was told that that bully was beaten up by a girl. And that day I developed the confidence. So whatever you have mastery over no longer has dominion over you. So I want you to understand that masturbation is not really the problem. There is a deeper problem you're trying to fix. And that's the first question I'm going to ask you. Now, what are you pretending not to know that makes you masturbate? Are you actually masturbating because are you or do you want to break away from masturbation because you think it's a problem? Or because there's a deeper problem that you are using that masturbation is only a victim of a bigger problem? What is that bigger problem? Is it that you have not been healed from abuse? Or is it that deep down you actually feel like having sex? But because your religion says no, you are now using masturbation as a smokescreen to also feel what the people who go do sex feel, so that you can still preach against them and talk to them anyhow, or point accusing fingers at them, or justify yourself and make yourself feel that you are bigger than them. Right, I got you there. Now, if that's the issue, then masturbation is not your problem, because until you deal with the bigger issue, you may not resolve masturbation issue. Are you masturbating because you have low self-esteem issues? Now, a lot of solutions have been recommended, like the cut and the replace technique. People will say, yell at those thoughts and recite a pre-chosen anchor. Okay, like I can do all things through Christ that give me strength. And some people tell you do a goal setting. People tell you do advanced planner. Okay, some people tell you be outgoing, which means always observe the period where you masturbate and then plan against that. And some school of thought talks about accountability, which I think works. Basically, every sexual urge needs an outlet, and the outlet can come by you talking about it, by you doing it, or by you diverting the urge. Now, talking about it is you feel like masturbating. Can you get someone that you respect, you look up to, and say, this is what I feel like doing? Now, when you talk to that person, the urge drops almost immediately. Now, if you can't talk to someone, you can actually divert the urge. What that simply means is you can divert the urge into something else. And usually, I recommend there's a music in Nigeria by where the music called the Joya. I recommend that you dance to that music for like 5 minutes, and most of my clients have had 100% success doing this. Okay, so you can divert the urge. But also you have the aversion therapy. Now, which I will talk about is more or less like a behavioral change. It's more or less like a therapy which I'll put you through. Now, but also you need to challenge the beliefs, because until you alter your belief system, your body actually or your mind has got what we call internal filters. And your internal filters are things like your beliefs, your memories, your meta programs, your attitude, and quite a number of them, about 7 of them in there. Now, these things are also victim of your upbringing, your environment, and your significant emotional experience. Now, if you understand this, right, then you can actually get help. So, what I need you to do is to first of all take a clean sheet of paper and ask yourself, when was the first time you actually masturbated? Or how did you come about masturbation? Can you write it out? And I want you to remember, in case you've forgotten, I want you to trust your mind to be able to reveal it to you. So I want you to speak to your mind and tell your mind to reveal to you the exact time or that exact period when you first masturbated. Okay, just listen quietly. Listen and trust whatever your mind says to you. Now, once you have gotten that, can you remember the first time and go back to that first time you ever masturbated and feel the things you felt? What did you say to yourself that day? What movie did you see? Or what video? Or what pornography did you see? What exactly was it that was said to you? I want you to do that right away. Think through it. Put yourself as if you're watching a movie. Take yourself out of it But see this movie, let it be live. How did you feel the first time you masturbated? Feel that feeling again. Now, if there was something you could say to yourself as you were masturbating the first time, what would it be? What exactly would you have said to yourself that day? Right. Now, if there was a reason for masturbating that day, what would that reason be? Have you gotten that reason? Now, I want you to now look at that masturbation experience and ask yourself, if you had the power to stop it or not to do it that day, knowing fully well that you would become addicted to it, what would you have done differently? Think about it. Think about it. Man. Oh, that's very right. I love the way you're doing it. Now, I want you to take a second look at that masturbation experience and ask yourself if there was a positive to be taken away from that experience, what would it be? And I want you to think deeply about it. If there was a higher reason for God allowing it to happen, and if there was something positive to take away, what would that be? What could have happened if you had not masturbated? Could you have impregnated someone? Could you have gotten pregnant? What could have happened? Right. I want you to pick a positive, right? To what extent? What could be the reason that could be positive? Now, have you gotten the reason? Fantastic. Now, I want you to feel that reason right now and begin to ask yourself, what would masturbation mean to you? Initially, you thought it was just going to be pleasure, but now it's becoming a bondage to you. As a matter of fact, maybe you're experiencing some of the symptoms already. Now, what would masturbation mean to you? Now, I need you to get the new meaning, and that meaning must be a meaning of pain if you're truly ready to break free. What is that meaning, new meaning that it means to you? Would it mean impotence? Would it mean death? And the meaning it must mean to you must be something that is close to the pleasure you used to derive from it. Right. It used to make you feel good or make you feel. Now, what would it make you feel? Or it used to make you even feel sad. But what would it make you feel right now? I'm sure you get what I'm asking. What would it mean to you in the light of the experiences you are having? Now, I want you to internalize it. Can you turn what masturbation, what it will mean, into a picture? What will represent that picture? Would it be a monster? Would it be a Dracula? What exactly would that, if that habit were a person or were something, an animal, what would it look like? Is it a friendly animal or a wild animal? If that animal will do anything to you, what will that animal do? Will they kiss you? Or will they bite you? Will they attack you? Or will they be friendly to you? That's very good. Now, if you have to take a decision to retain that animal or to let it go or to kill it, what decision would you take? Would you retain that animal as a domestic animal or you will kill it so that you don't even see it anymore? Now, whatever you're doing to that animal is what you must do to masturbation now. I want you to go ahead to do that right away. You have the power. Have you done that? Now, whatever you have done, I want you to float out of your body right now, holding your favorite flowers. And those flowers speak of freedom. And I want you to begin to spread that freedom To everyone going through what you've been through, what has held you bound, I'm beginning to start to share with them what you have done that broke you free from masturbation. Trust me, nothing means anything except the meaning you've attached to it. You've attached pleasure to masturbation. It's time to ascribe a new meaning to it. What is that new meaning? Now spread the good news around, telling everyone that you can actually break free from masturbation. Now, I want you to float as you float out. See yourself dance. So tomorrow you feel like masturbating. I want you to see in your mind that animal that you saw. And I want you to see yourself run out of your room dancing, feeling good about yourself, telling yourself, I am bigger than masturbation. I am bigger than masturbation. Now I want you to open your eyes. Now, if you have done this successfully, now I want you to always go back to this, go back to this, go back to this every day and redo it again till it becomes a part of you. Now, one thing I need you to do every day in the next 7 days is to pick a particular time, preferably 8 p.m., where you replay the same video that you just saw in your mind, right? To say what exactly will masturbation mean to you after now. It must mean something. Once it means pain, then it becomes very easy to break. But once it means pleasure, you continue to do it. But beyond that, I want you to find that person in your life that you can report yourself to, who can hold you accountable. So don't just say to yourself, I will no longer masturbate. No, because the urge will come because your body is already reconfigured. Now, when the urge comes, now the coping mechanism you've used before now is to masturbate. Now, you need to replace that masturbation coping mechanism with something that is equally pleasurable. What is that activity that you love to do? Is it dancing? Is it singing? Is it playing piano? Is it running? Is it exercising? Is it skipping? There must be an activity that can replace that till your body normalizes. Now, I would recommend you take a lot of water, take a lot of fruits and vegetable because it can also help detoxify you and of course, it helps your body adjust back to itself. It's a behavioral problem, and you can behave yourself out of it. Trust me, masturbation is not as big. It's not a big deal as you think it is. You can actually behave yourself out of it. You are a king, and masturbation has no right to lord it over you. Now, as I close this session, I want you to know that there are several other therapy that you can run on yourself. For example, we call something switch method. Switch method is basically where masturbation is a particular behavior. What behavior will you replace masturbation with? Now, you need to be able to arrive at a particular behavior you need to replace masturbation with. And once you arrive at that behavior, you need to close your eyes and see a screen, a large screen. Now, see that large screen, the first screen, you see yourself in the habit of masturbation. Now, once you have seen yourself masturbating, right, is the picture black or white? You need to be able to answer that question. Is it focused or defocused? Now, once you have answered that question, then you need to now look at a smaller screen deep down where you can now see the new behavior you want to replace masturbation with. Now, what is that behavior? And please note that the behavior must be of the same like, of the same kind, and it must elicit the kind of pleasure that masturbation usually gives you. Now, what is that new behavior you're replacing masturbation with? Now, once you can see that new behavior, now you will just count 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's as if you are pulling the smaller screen to overcome the bigger screen. So you do something like swish or switch. Okay, so can we do that? So let's try that right now. Can you just close your eyes and see a large screen? And that's you masturbating. Have you seen it? Is it black or white or colored? Is it near or far? Is it focused or defocused? Fantastic. Now, I want you to now go to the second habit that you want to replace masturbation with, what will it be? That gives you pleasure. Is it dancing? Is it singing? Look at it in the smallest screen. Is it far on air? Is it black or white or colored? Is it focused or defocused? Okay. Now, you are going to replace the older bit, the larger screen with the new screen. So we'll just count one, two, three, and you will pull the new habit into the old habit. Are you ready? Okay. One, two, go, and you will say switch. Okay. One, two, three, go switch. 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 Now, I want you to see yourself in the new behavior now. Now it's on the large screen. So see yourself trying to masturbate, but now you are doing something else. And see yourself enjoy it. Now is focused, is colored, is now so clear. Fantastic. So now we're going to test run on what we call future pace. What that means is I want you to think of sometimes in the future, it could be next week, upper week, or next month, you exactly feel like masturbating the same way. Maybe you're sleeping in your room, right? And you feel like masturbating. Okay? Now, what will be your response? What exactly would you do? Oh, fantastic. So, do what exactly you will do. How does that make you feel? Now I can see you smile. Fantastic. I'm clapping for you. Wonderful, wonderful job, wonderful job. Trust me, if you follow this, you'll break through easily. Now, for your body to adjust, you might need about 40 days of consistently doing this, and that's why I recommend that you get an accountability partner. So listen to this over and over and over and over again. Get someone to inspect or to oversee you as you go about doing this task. And trust me, you have the power to break free. Trust me, everything you behave yourself into, you can always behave yourself out, and masturbation doesn't have the power to overcome you. Before I close, I need to also let you know that if you're overcoming masturbation, then you cannot go on to be watching pornography because pornography will induce masturbation. Okay, so if there are some things you need to throw away, like some of the old videos and whatever, there's something you're trying to meet. Okay, there's a problem somewhere. Something you're trying to cope with that makes you use all these things. It's like smoking marijuana. There's no difference. Everything is coping mechanism. Now you need to see me. You can call me 0803726943. Or if you are listening to this outside of Nigeria, +234 803726943. Okay, +234 803726943, or you can send me a mail at praise at gmail.com, or praise@praiseforward.com. Praise is praise, forward is FOWOWE .com. Right. There's a whole lot that we can give to you that can help you break free from whatever you're dealing with. But trust me, you can always break free. Nothing has the capacity to overcome you. And trust me, you can also pray. If prayer is what works for you, there are several tools, but beyond prayer, because what prayer will do is prayer will make God give you direction on what to do. But if you don't do it, you don't get solution to that problem.
Thank you very much for joining me today. I want to believe that you have learned one or two things about breaking free from masturbation. If you have any question at all, well, I've unmuted your microphone. So if you want to ask any question before we shut down for today, please kindly ask right now. This session is recorded, and I will share the link after now in case you need a link and you want to listen to this over and over again. Right. So, any questions so far? If you want to ask any question, you can speak up. I will hear you and I'll respond to you. Anyone asking any question? Okay, seems that we don't have any question. I want to really appreciate you for joining this session today. I hope you have learned one or two things from the session, and I must say that I've had a fantastic time with you. Like I said, the session was recorded, and the link will be shared after now. So you can listen and listen over and over again. But trust me, masturbation is one of the easiest things to break away from, and you've got the power to break free from it. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a fantastic time. Next week, Tuesday, we're going to have the final class for the year on family systems. Okay, so you might want to join that session as well. But in case you have any other issues you're dealing with, you can send a mail to the email address being displayed on the screen, and I will respond to you. Thank you so much for joining the session. I will say bye-bye, Merry Christmas in advance, and a prosperous new year. Bye-bye.